Hello, hello, hello. It is great to be back with you, wonderful people. This is Leah Murphy, CEO of Career Gems for the Journey, and we are back to have another robust discussion. Um, I want to make sure that I do my housekeeping because I got some feedback from my team that I have not been doing my housekeeping as far as making sure that everybody is aware of all the things that are happening over here at Career Gems for the Journey. So I want to make sure that I do that. First, what you'll see if you're joining us live on LinkedIn Live or you're joining us on YouTube, because we also have content streaming directly to YouTube, you'll see a QR code on the screen, and that QR code is directing you specifically to our new service offering. A little bit of a pause there, a little bit of a delay. Directing you to our new service offering. We now offer team building services. And team building really can be transformational if you have a team that is new, just getting together, if there has recently been additions to the team or changes to the team, or even if you're integrating with a new larger group and you are looking to open the lines of communication, really go deeper in building connections so that your team can be a high performing team. We now offer the services of team building events. So please do scan the QR code that you see here on the screen. Take full advantage to learn more about that service offering. It has been amazing. It really came organically out of connecting with our clients and the keynote speaking client that we've had the opportunity to work with and collaborate with kind of came to us to say, we're looking to go a little bit deeper within the teams. They had been a part of the series that we did a little while back around how to build a high-performing cross-functional team and asked really probing questions and wanted to make sure that we provided a service offering in order to accommodate the need. So we gave them some content, how to build a high-performing team, but they needed some more depth and some more really in-person engagement in order to drive that team building. And it has been phenomenal ever since. So really excited to be able to offer that. And I want to make sure that I remind folks of that, which you also would have seen on the screen initially on the intro. How y'all feel about the intro? If you're joining me live, let me know. The music, QR code, headshot, all of the things, right? There was tremendous feedback from our recent post that introduced the new headshots of me and the logo and the brand and all the things that are happening, making us feel real official. So really excited for my team in the background to continue to push us to develop new visuals and aesthetics that help to align with our brand. But that also had the QR code for the book, Salary Power Moves, Winning the Compensation Negotiation, which is an Amazon bestseller. Wanted to make sure that folks knew that that still exists and that's still available. So you can scan the QR code. We'll put that back up on the outro. So get your phone ready if you are watching us on a computer, on a device that is not your cell phone. So you can scan that QR code and it'll take you directly to the shop to be able to grab a copy of the book for just $9.99. Okay. Housekeeping done. Check, check, check. And I'm telling you, you guys, today is a unique and special day. My normal microphone broke over the weekend. Stressed me all the way out. So my normal microphone broke over the weekend. So I was doing research and trying to figure out and scramble to find the right additional resource. And for those of you who are joining us live, we typically record our LinkedIn Live events on Tuesdays now at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we got great feedback from you all that the opportunity to participate and engage with us live would be better if we could be around that 2 o'clock hour, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the US. So we were excited to move to the 2 o'clock slot. And so I'm doing work. I'm prepping for the podcast over the weekend, prepping for joining you live over the weekend. And as I'm doing my prep, I go in to record some things and the microphone is like, it's a no. It's a no, sis. And I can't even pretend because it had been letting me know, giving me all the signs, just like we all know, right? There's always signs, just like in relationships, just like with jobs, there's always signs that things are not going the way we want them to go. Some things have changed. It's not working the same. Maybe it's you, not me. Maybe it's time for us to part ways. So my microphone had basically told me that it's time for us to part ways after many years of faithful service. So I have a new microphone set up. Hopefully all of those things are working well in the background. We did some tests, but if anybody is joining me live, please just let me know. Give me a thumbs up if the audio is great and you guys are getting exactly what you need sound-wise. And you can drop that in the chat, or you can just give me a okay in the chat, and that'll let me know that I'll just move on past the audio, and I'll get out of my feelings, because I was super emotional. That was like my first big purchase as I was prepping for doing more digital content, be it the podcast, the Career Gems for the Journey podcast, or our other recording platforms where we do some video content recording. That was my first big purchase. So it's kind of like, oh, you've been with me since the beginning, and now you're going away. So so now we have a new microphone resource. Shout out to my fellow podcaster, Dr. Karima Lynham, who we were in podcast groups together, had done some collaborations in the past. I had been a guest on her podcast. She let me know about the mic and resources that she had available, and she actually basically gave me a microphone. Like, I told her what I was going through, she gave me a microphone. So it's just great to have people in your network, people that want to support you, people that believe in you, and people that want to make sure that you continue to do the work that is important to you. So I have those things, so thank you. So if you are joining us live, please do drop your city in the chat. It would be amazing for me to shout you out. I would love to see who is reaching this, whose content is reaching, and who is also able to participate with us live at our new time slot at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So while we are letting folks load up in the chat, I want to just recap what we talked about the last time we had a chance to be together. The last time we were together, we talked about imposter syndrome, and I actually was working to really introduce this reframing of moving away from imposter syndrome to imposter system. And when I tell you that it got spicy in the back channels, when I tell you that I got lots of questions, lots of concerns, lots of raised eyebrows, which I think is great, because we need to be having these discussions. And I think it's really important that we create a space that is safe, and folks feel like they have the opportunity to ask questions and to push on what things, what these concepts are that we're being labeled by a lot of us oftentimes. So I really wanted to make sure that we kind of closed out on that this week. So excited to be able to do that and then build upon it. And it looks like we have Crystal is joining us from Philadelphia. Shout out to you, Crystal. Appreciate you joining. I'm glad to see you there. And Crystal is a Pierce College alumni. I had a great opportunity to partner with Pierce College, and Dr. Rita Tolliver and Dr. Littlefield. They are really fantastic administrators and educators, and I'm really glad to see that Crystal was able to participate and join us here today at 2:00. So I'm going to get right into the details of this discussion on imposter syndrome versus imposter system. So what we talked about last week essentially was really pushing this understanding of the thread that we were pulling about how we could be more audacious, right? And how necessary audacity and audacious communication and behavior is in order to build a thriving career. And I like to say this because it always helps to set a foundation for folks. When you spend most of your upbringing and most of your professional life being told to be humble, to keep your head down, to work hard, when those are the things that happen, and that is the style that you've taken in approaching your career, oftentimes when you say something like you need to be more audacious, or when you hear something like you need to be more audacious, it's really important for you to tell your own story. It's really important for you to be able to speak to the value that you bring to the organization. It can feel like the two things are polar opposites. So when I am talking about being audacious, I'm really trying to encourage folks to reframe some of the habits, some of the rituals, some of the mindsets that have guided us throughout our career. And I know that feels very uncomfortable, feels super uncomfortable, awkward even, or kind of just out of left field, impossible to do. And I like to say that staying humble when it comes to working in corporate America, in nonprofit leadership, or even in the academic space, in academia, remaining humble will have you overworked, underpaid, and undervalued. I'm gonna say it again. Remaining humble will have you overworked, underpaid, and undervalued. And that's because when you're being humble and not talking about the value that you bring to the organization, what it does is it creates a vacuum so that people don't know the work that you're doing, so they can't compensate you. They can't give you the special project. They can't give you that next opportunity. So your humility oftentimes is hurting your career. And I want to make sure that folks are clear, because I got some questions about this, about, bragging and the negative connotation that bragging has. And I don't call it bragging when we're talking about being honest and being authentic in your storytelling and speaking to the work and the quality of work that you do. It's not bragging, it's telling the truth. It's stating facts, right? So when it's stating facts and it's telling the truth, what you're doing is a benefit to those who are not informed. You are benefiting them by helping them be informed on what it is that you do and to make sure that they are incentivizing the right talent, incentivizing and giving resources to people who are performing well and can continue to perform well if they choose to in that organization. Because people who are good, people who are capable, will always have options to leave the organization. And many of us have heard in the past, well, I had no idea that you weren't happy. I had no idea, people, you go to leave the organization, you hand in your letter of resignation, and everybody acts shocked and surprised. Oh, I had no idea. There's no way I could have known. I like to give people a real clear understanding. You knew exactly what I wanted. You knew exactly what I was capable of. You were informed because I was there to tell my own story. And I advocated for myself consistently. Now, whether or not you wanted to move or take action as a result of me telling my own story and owning my own narrative and seeing me as a valuable asset, now that's your decision. But my decision and my responsibility is to make sure that you're informed, right? So that's why audacity and having an audacious approach to your career in some areas where it's appropriate is very, very, very important. How does that tie to imposter syndrome, right? The way that it ties to imposter syndrome as it's described today, and imposter syndrome, and I'm paraphrasing the definition here, is basically when people who are capable, people who are in a position of success or have been granted access to exceptional opportunities, believe that those opportunities have been granted to them because of luck, not because of their hard work, not because of their capabilities. So they perceive that they are not necessarily wanted to be in that space, and they perceive themselves as at any moment being exposed as an imposter. So it's not believing that your capabilities and your credibility, even based on evidence and you having all the receipts for it, is given to you by as a result of your performance, but that it is through luck or that is through means that are outside of your control. And that at some point, the people around you may discover that you are an imposter, are going to discover you're an imposter. So that paraphrase or that framing for me becomes really challenging for me to sit with. Now, I believe that imposter syndrome definition, the paraphrase version that I just kind of walked through, I believe that may apply in some circumstances. I also believe that there are other circumstances where it is more the environment that you're in is telling you you are an imposter. So Elizabeth Leiba, who wrote the book, I'm Not Yelling, an amazing resource. Like, let's just give her flowers now. Elizabeth Leiba, I'm Not Yelling. It's available on Audible, available on hard copy. Fantastic resource. And I'm using or paraphrasing some of her words. She talks about imposter treatment. And when you treat someone like they're an imposter, then they begin to ask the question, well, am I an imposter? Do I deserve to be in these spaces? And that kind of leads to this imposter syndrome. And my concern with imposter syndrome is it implies that the individual has to address something within themselves. So if I say I'm feeling imposter syndrome or having those feelings, then that means Leah needs to address something within herself because it's a Leah problem. But when you think about it as the environment and imposter treatment being the driver of imposter syndrome, then it becomes more systematic. It becomes outside of you as an individual, and that requires others in the organization to get involved, to take action, to take some responsibility. And now that is not going to be ideal, right? Most organizations continue to want to do more of the same and to protect the status quo often. So in an effort to protect the status quo, it's easier to tell Leah that she has imposter syndrome and she needs to go work on it rather than go address systematic cultural issues that will allow imposter phenomenon and imposter treatment to happen in that workplace, in that team, in that culture. So if you feel like an imposter, If you are getting signals from your peers, if you're getting signals from other people in the organization that they perceive you to be an imposter and that you're not deserving, those signals begin to take root, right? Over time, if you don't have a filter to put them through and a filter to be able to assess that is their bias or that's their perception, that's not mine, they begin to take root in us as people. Because after a while, you can only disregard so much before you have to sit with yourself and say, well, is there some merit to this? Is this real? So if you're sitting and say, is this real? Am I an imposter? You're not being audacious. You're not asking for what you believe you deserve. You're not asking for promotions. You're not looking for broader leadership roles. You're not asking for additional compensation. You're not asking for a raise. So as a system, the system then benefits by having someone who's very capable, right? And has the results, has the receipts, has the relationships, has all of the things, but doesn't see it in themselves. So they stay quiet, they stay humble, they stay out of the spotlight. They don't require much from the organization. They don't push the organization to change or make adjustments in order to welcome them, in order to accommodate them, in order to notice them, in order to show them that they are valued. So this tie between really leveraging the ability to be audacious and show up in these spaces, once you've really earned the right and you have the credibility, if you don't ever get past the point where you're perceived as an imposter and you're trying to overcome the perceptions or the micro signals, as we talked about last time, that the organization may be sending you, if you're spending all your time on the front trying to figure out navigating this imposter syndrome because of the signals that your organization and people in your organization are sending you, then you never get to show up in that way that allows you to be fully audacious, that allows you to stand in the spotlight, that allows you to own your greatness, that allows you to speak to the value that you bring to the organization, and that allows the organization to think of you as a partner and create a mutually beneficial arrangement. So I really wanted to encourage us to think about, especially women and Black women. I find tremendous number of them are using the term and concepts tied to imposter syndrome to describe feelings that they're feeling. And it may be valid, it may be completely relevant for some audiences, but in the folks that I'm seeing and the opportunity that I get to work with, amazing, talented, capable, bright, smart, badass, you name it, really, really, really impressive human beings who are doing exceptional work. When I hear them start to talk about imposter syndrome, what I am hearing on the back end is there's some signals that are getting sent to them throughout their experience day to day in their organization that's causing them to doubt themselves, that's causing them to question. And that may have started in early in life and carried all the way through, or it could be something that you're just experiencing now that you're in corporate spaces because there's more people that don't look like you, or maybe your unique point of view or behavior isn't as valued in that space that you're in. So I just wanted to take the pressure off in a lot of ways of individuals from feeling like I need to address this idea that I have imposter syndrome. Some of it is operating in the system. It is signals that are being sent to you through communication, through microaggressions, through slight questions, through all of the shady things that we know happen oftentimes in workplaces. So I want to pivot a little bit to make sure folks have the opportunity to just take a chance to think through, are there signals that you're getting that are causing this doubt, or is there more work that you have to do, right? I think the question needs to be asked. The assumption can't be that there's more work that you need to do and that's it all the time. So I want leaders in these organizations to hear me out for a minute. If you are looking to be able to retain talent in your organization and you are looking to grow and looking to have them show up to the best of their ability, it requires a culture where imposter syndrome and the signals of imposter treatment cannot thrive. It requires you as a leader to create a psychologically safe place where people can show up. And here's why. Oftentimes, our inability to recognize that this is a safe place for us to show up means that we won't take risk. We won't take risk, and we're completely afraid to fail. Knowing that all of the top leaders in business will tell you that failure is just a part of the process. Failure is necessary for learning. It is inevitable when you're being innovative and moving into new spaces. Failure is literally just a part of a career. It is necessary. in order for us to learn and to grow and change our behavior and to change our minds. So if we never take that chance, we never fail, we never get those learnings, we never get that additional experience, we are less able to navigate these environments with authority. And we're less able to navigate into spaces that may be new and emerging because those things are not a sure bet. There may be some failure that's a part of that. There is a calculated risk that has to be taken. And I believe that calculated risk tied with with audacity and delivering results can be the difference maker, literally the difference maker in a career that stagnates and plateaus where it is or skyrockets and gets promoted 3, 4, 5 more times. So all of this ends up being this kind of soup that ties really back to mindsets and behaviors, right? So now we got this soup. We're getting signals from the organization. We're getting maybe imposter treatment from people in our organization. And we feel like there are some things that are also happening in our own mind, right? There is a voice, maybe our inner critic, that is impacting the way we perceive ourselves. So when you have all these things in a soup, what's required in order for you to kind of filter out, right? Let the liquid stay and filter out what is good in that soup requires one, and we talked about this in a previous opportunity to be together, which is making sure that you have the right external data points and you're continuing to get external validation. So that may be through volunteerism, through working on a nonprofit board, that may be through working in your community in some way, where you're getting the signals that you are valued, you are capable, you are exactly what we need, and we want more of it, because we don't always get that from our day job. So I want to make sure that we're balanced in making sure that we get that acknowledgement, that we get that intentional approach to say, yes, you have something to offer and it's valuable. And if we're not getting that from our day job, or we're getting confusing or mixed signals from our day job, psychologically it's really important that we get that from external sources, from external relationships and external engagements. And that is just in your own best interest, to make sure that you feel confident, to make sure that you continue to build your skill set and your competence. So I want to encourage that. And then the second one that I really want to make sure folks think about is working directly with someone, a coach, working directly with a mentor, working directly with someone who you can collaborate with to make sure that you're clear on your value proposition to your organization, and you're constantly tapping into what your mindset needs to be in order for you to continue to show up and do great work in your organization. And there are lots of really, really great books on these topics. So I want to make sure folks, seek out other resources to make sure that your mindset is renewed such that you can continue to show up in these environments and your overall well-being is positively impacted through all of the inputs that you are receiving. So I don't want us to be trapped to believe that the only inputs and the only way that we can be perceived as valuable is through our workplace, through our employer, through our manager. There are lots of other ways to be able to do that. And that's the way that we create balance. That's also the way that we continue to train our own mindset, by getting those external signals. And then by having a supportive community of people, with a coach, with a professional organization, with a nonprofit organization that you work with, that see your value and are able to speak to that value in you. That's how we really dismantle this idea that I am an imposter and I have work to do as an imposter. It really is, how do I get a balanced perspective on the way I'm showing up? How do I get a balanced perspective on how I deliver in life and in the organizations that I support? Making sure that perspective is balanced and not one-sided will really help you decide, is it me that needs to address? Because we all have opportunities to grow, and we can all look for the opportunity to say, I'm going to work on that. I need to sharpen in that area. But we also have the opportunity to say, I'm doing something that is actually exceptional, and it looks exceptional because it is. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm going to do it in an environment that is supportive. I'm going to do it in an environment that values what I bring to the table. And sometimes the environment you're in doesn't represent that. And that's not a bad thing. That's just a matter of opportunity. Let's find an environment that does, that is aligned, that is a better fit. And that doesn't have to happen immediately. So I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation. It feels like there is a lot happening there at the end of it all, right? What's the bullet point? What's the highlight? The highlight is thinking about yourself as someone who's ever growing and ever evolving, while at the same time thinking of yourself as a mindset, as someone who has tremendous value and in the right circumstance, in the right environment, could absolutely knock it out of the park and could create tremendous amounts of additional value for that organization. Thinking about yourself as both of those things at the same time is critical. But if you're too busy focused on what you're not, or experiencing the imposter syndrome, these signals that are coming from the system, then you have a very limited ability to be able to be audacious and step into those spaces. So I want to encourage you to think about yourself as someone who is, ever growing, worth taking calculated risk on, and has the ability to continue to knock things out of the park and be dope. At the same time, as somebody who is coachable and able to be developed, but gets a balanced perspective. Don't let a one-sided perspective change your perception of yourself. Make sure you're getting a balanced perspective. That's super, super huge. So shout out to Elizabeth Liba for writing I'm Not Yelling. It is a great work. I find it to be very comprehensive and thoughtful. And if you have an opportunity to go grab a copy of it, please do, by all means. This is not an ad, not an affiliate. It was just a really great work. And it actually gave me some new perspective on how I thought about imposter syndrome. But this idea that there is an imposter system and that the organization benefits from people not believing that they're deserving or not believing that they should ask, the organization benefits. And that's why a lot of us end up not negotiating. That's why a lot of us end up not really pushing for the things that we deserve and the things that we want, because we're fighting on another front and trying to create enough capacity for ourselves to fight on one front so we don't have the ability to show up in the other way. So really important discussion. Thought it was absolutely necessary for us to have it. And as we think about going into next month, because we're leading into July here, can you guys believe it? We're leading until July. Next time we get together, we will be in the month of July. We'll be talking about a completely new topic in the month of July. We're going to go back to some of the details in negotiation. I've been getting a lot of questions on negotiation generally. We won't be talking specifically about salary. And the reason why I've been getting more questions on negotiation, and I hope you guys will join us here Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Maybe there's a little bit of influence from a show called Succession. So I'm not going to get into it here, but Succession has been trending and giving folks lots of questions and lots of thoughts, and it actually is coming back my way. So I want to talk a little bit more, uncover Succession for us, or really dig into the deal making and the negotiation and the tactics that are showing up in Succession so that we can figure out how to apply them for ourselves. So if you haven't watched Succession or you have no idea what I'm talking about, go ahead and Google it real quick. And then take an opportunity to join us on Tuesday every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be here. And I appreciate those of you who are joining us live on LinkedIn or joining us live on YouTube. It's always amazing to have folks who are joining and getting the content live in real time. And for those of you who are watching us or listening on the replay, please do still drop your city in the chat. Would love to hear from you. Would love to continue to understand who this content is reaching. And we will look out for you the next time we have a chance to be together. That's Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back here, same place, same time, same platforms. Excited to be back with you then. Take care.